Ooh, it's raining out there. Let me turn that round and show you a little look out. Don't know if you can see. Anyway, it's another movie double bill because that's what we do now to make it more effective. Cost money. That wasn't a sentence. Hey ho. Do I start dyeing my beard again, or do I just let this white go out? Comment down below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hit the notification bell. Something. Anyway. So we've been to see two films. First we saw Blue Beetle, which we came out of 2.5 hours ago. We came out of that at 8:05. It's now 10:35. I cannot remember most of the film already.
In fact, you did sleep through.
I slept through a bit. But it was just either I did my normal thing of falling asleep in a battle sequence, slept through till the next battle sequence and woke up, or I woke up in the same battle sequence. I'm not quite sure. But it was just
disappointing.
There was nothing to it. Imminently forgettable. It was just as proof of that I can't fucking remember it. I guess it was. A lot of people are talking about superhero fatigue, Marvel fatigue, Disney fatigue, Star Wars fatigue, and I think, given this is a DC movie, it's the biggest culprit of that, because it's absolutely superhero origin story by the numbers. There's nothing, and it's not even done particularly well where you can go, actually, yeah, but it was a lot of fun, I really enjoyed it, because I didn't even find that was the case. I was just like, oh, really? I was bored. Only thing, I think its only saving grace was the character of the granny is quite funny a couple of times.
And the sister.
Yeah, the sister's not too bad. But
I got real Ugly Betty American Ferrara vibes.
Yeah. But it's just, yeah. I think the other, ultimately, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen everything you need to know about Blue Beetle.
Yeah, actually, pretty much.
So you don't need to actually go and see the film. You can wait for a second one. We did check on aftercredits.com, which is what we use to check if we stay in our seats, and it said there was mid and end credits. But because we had to run from one film to the other, we stayed for the mid and then decided to skip the end. And then we looked up what the end credits thing was, and we're glad we didn't wait for it because it would have actually been a complete waste of time. But we did stay for the mid credits. I just didn't care. And the thing is, I'd never even heard of Blue Beetle until I saw the first trailer. So it's got to be way down the DC roster, right? And it's just, I don't know, it was kind of like a crap remake of Iron Man, but they're poor instead of rich. That's kind of really the best you can say about it. What were your thoughts on Blue Beetle since you stayed awake for the entire film?
Yeah, well, I think, like I said to you afterwards, is I had really high hopes.
Ooh, sorry. I've just realised my hand might have been over the mic. God doesn't know the word I've said.
Yeah. So I had really high hopes for this movie, particularly because it was obviously focusing on excellent sort of characters. So I thought it would be DC kind of doing with kind of its universe what Marvel has been starting to do with things like Ms. Marvel. So kind of focusing on voices that don't get heard. But yeah, I say outside of an initial sort of interesting beginning, it just became utterly formulaic, but also did all of the worst things in superhero movies, where it kind of wasn't even really internally consistent. You've got this, and it's all cliche stuff. It's like, they're having battles and the suit is like super powerful at the beginning, but then suddenly, because you need to have the tension, suddenly the suit has limitations, but the limitations that don't make sense based on what the suit has demonstrated
before
at other points in the film.
I turned to you at one point and went, "This thrust does not work anymore."
Yeah.
I don't remember them saying they didn't. Perhaps they did.
No, they didn't.
But all of a sudden it was like, "You've got to run." Why? You could fly a minute ago.
Yeah. And suddenly, like sort of something gets like sort of destroyed, and it's just like, but the suit is literally creating stuff out of nothing. So why is that suddenly an issue? Why can't it just create like what's just been destroyed.
A new limb, a new gun, a new whatever.
wing, or you whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So just that lack of internal consistency and just dull.
Yeah.
Like no real stakes and just just I think largely wasted the cast.
Susan Sarandon phoning in a performance.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah, just turning up every day, saying a few lines and looking at her bank balance at the end of it, I would expect, and I don't blame her. But yeah, just like no, no, and the fact that it chose to reference like Batman and Superman and reference anyway. I can't remember if it referenced anybody else.
No.
But at that point, I'm like,
oh, the Flash.
On the Flash, yeah. But yeah, at that point, I'm going. So where are we? So does the Flash we've just seen count? Is Batman the Batman? Because the way they talk about Batman and gadgets doesn't really reflect the Batman, so that wouldn't seem to fit.
And to be fair, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the Batman reference, basically.
Actually, yeah, that's true. That is in there. So yeah, just
disappointing.
All around, and you know, basically we'd booked today based on we decided that our second film, which we'll come to, we weren't that fussed about, but it just so happened that it made up the two films that makes it worth us driving down to the cinema for, to use our cards to get our discounts, blah 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 blah. But Blue Beetle was like, well, we want to see Blue Beetle, and we're not really that bothered about the other one, but it makes the two films. And then actually afterwards, now we've seen Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion is the better film by far, and I'm really glad we saw it at the cinema and didn't just wait for Disney Plus like we were originally going to.
Yes, it was an absolute delight of a movie.
Oh, it's a hoot!
Finish.
It's a complete hoot. Now the thing is, what I would say is we have both been to Disney parks. We have ridden the Haunted Mansion in Florida multiple times. Me more than Paul. I've also ridden the one in Paris many times. I've watched a ton of videos of the in Disney in California and stuff like that. So I'm, you know, we are Disney people. But I don't think that matters. I think if you are familiar with the ride, exactly the same as the original Pirates film. If you know the rides of Pirates of the Caribbean, and the interesting thing, both Pirates and Haunted Mansion do tend to be variants and slightly different in every park.
I should point out that I've been on like the Haunted Mansion like a few times, but I wouldn't say I massively remember it.
Right.
In terms of like a lot of the way that you remember it.
Yeah. But did you spot Easter eggs?
Yeah, I spotted quite a few.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's, for me, I'm not someone who would class myself as being, you know, a Disney fan. Obviously, I've been like twice now, but that's literally it. But you don't need to be to enjoy this movie.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that it's one of those great things where if you are a fan of the source material, you will see so much detail.
Yeah.
But if you've never set foot in a Disney park, have never watched a YouTube video of the ride or any of that kind of stuff, this is still a very fun film to go and see.
Yes.
And what was it? How did they word it at the start? You laughed about moderate horror, was it?
Oh, yeah, moderate horror.
Moderate horror.
Like, how do they decide what makes moderate?
What makes moderate horror?
As opposed to like mild or extreme horror. There
was a little girl further along from us who I think did get a little bit scared. She must have been about 8 or 9. And at one point, I don't know if she went out to the loo, but her dad was talking to her all the way through it. But it was kind of no, I think she's a little bit freaked out by the whole ghost thing, so I'm not going to go, can you be quiet please? Because I thought poor girl's probably terrified, so I just left it. But oh god, it was just such a hoot. I giggled. I mean, we were laughing out loud a lot.
Yes.
It wasn't just like a titter, it was hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Thank you. Ooh, pollen, wowzers. That's a
but it's like, it's the same kind of humour, same kind of style of humour, I should say, as you got from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, where you don't need to have experienced the source material to fine for humour.
Or follow the story.
Yeah.
Everything's explained for you. The cast are great. I don't know all of them by name. Obviously, Jamie Lee Curtis plays Madame Leota. Rosario Dawson. Yeah. Danny DeVito and Luke Wilson.
Oh my god.
Danny DeVito, weirdly, it only really struck me, but he's actually, to be fair, he looks more like my dad's dad, like uncanny, but I can see a bit of my dad in it, so I'm like, oh shit, is this my future? I also noticed I don't know if they were intentional, but there were a couple of things with his character that could have been Penguin references. There was just a couple of times I thought, oh, is that a Penguin reference?
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
You're also a much bigger
Batman Returns.
Yeah.
There is no better Batman film ever. Ever. And Tiffany Haddish though steals it. Absolutely steals it as the psychic. But the other thing is
a drag queen performance in the making.
Yeah. Well, vocally she reminded me of I cannot think of the actress's name, but she plays the security guard on campus in Scream Queens, Denise Hemphill. Vocally, it was a very similar performance and just hilarious. I'm just laughing about a few things. I'm not going to go into too much spoilery territory, but I think this is worth checking out. I mean, you know, if like you're a family of like 12, it's expensive to go to the cinema. I get it. It probably will come to Disney Plus fairly quickly. These things tend to. But wherever you check it, and also thinking about it, maybe it's going to come on Disney Plus around Halloween, and that'd be a great time to watch it. I think.
Yes.
You know, you had Hocus Pocus 2 last year. I would say actually, as much as you know, we should encourage box office. If you make this your Halloween movie this year for the family, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think there's a lot to be gained from it. It just is so much fun. Absolutely so much fun. There's a whole tier of Easter eggs and insider jokes, not just based on parks and rides, but I spotted at the start another Disney character from another Disney film based in the New Orleans area. Yeah, there's a lot to see and there's a lot to love. So yeah, Blue Beetle, if you've really got nothing else to do, or just watch the trailer and then just slot it into the DC universe as it expands or possibly doesn't, who the fuck knows. But yeah, if you're looking for your Halloween movie for this year, just sit tight and wait for Haunted Mansion. Can't exit out. I'm trying to press stop. He's telling me I can't zoom in and out. I don't want to try to press stop.